Shalom. Welcome back. Today we are working through the ancient triennial Torah portion. Vayhi ki zaken. And it was that was old. And of course it's going to be Yitzchak. This Torah portion can be found in Genesis chapter 27, verses 1 through 27. Adonai Adonenu, modim anachnu ki anachnu yochalim lilmod et toratecha miyemei kedem. Modim anachnu ki yesh lanu sefarim chetuvim be'emet כי שמרת בעמך את דבריך. היום תשלחנה את רוחך עלינו, אבא, כי אנחנו רוצים לראות את פניך. לעולנו לעולם ולך יחיה כל הכבוד. Adonai, we're so grateful for your ancient word, which you preserved by means of your people. We thank you that we are able to study this together from a scroll from the ancient days. May you send forth your Spirit on us that we may study well in your sight. For we desire to see your face. And in all of it, not to us, but to you be the glory. All right. So here we are, quite a famous Torah portion, though of course this is the triennial Torah portion, the ancient, the much older 3.5 year process. So here we've got Yitzchak is investigating his son, Yaakov, saying, "Is it really you, my son? Is it truly Esau?" All right, so let's get started. So here we have our indicator that this is the traditional triennial Torah portion, the Samech and the sideways comments. And you can see where the communists wrote 27,1. So that's chapter 27, verse 1, beginning there. There's no respect for the ancient documents, as communists tend to be, foolish in most of their ways. And if you have trouble reading from the scroll, we're also going to read over here from the nice text. And as a user pointed out last time, I'm very sorry, I forgot your username. For some reason, Gilgamesh is coming to mind. That's probably wrong. But he's also got a channel out there. I'll try to give you better credit during the week. He pointed out that I've been referring to this as the Westminster Leningrad Codex. It's a technical error. Technically, this is just the Leningrad Codex. The Westminster Leningrad Codex is the electronic edition of it. Electric. So it's no harm, no foul. Not that this really affects us too much, but let's get things correct. He's right. The actual hard copy text itself is the Leningrad Codex, and then the Westminster Institute is the one that made the digital copy of it. So thank you to, I know it starts with a G. I don't know why Gilgamesh is coming to hand. I hope that's the right username for you, brother. So thanks for pointing that in the comments last time. If you ever have comments or corrections you want to make, if I say something you think is wrong, you are more than welcome to leave a comment. Just please be nice, and I will be happy to consider that and chew on it and get back to you. So it's good that we can edify one another and constantly be growing, yeah? So, all right. So and by the way, to Gilgamesh out there, you mentioned that you thought this was probably the WLC, the Westminster Leningrad Codex. No, the text I'm showing on the left, you can tell it's not because the footnotes, right? These indicate that there's a textual apparatus which the WOC by itself does not have. This is actually the BHS, B as in boy, the Bibli Hebräische Stuttgartensia, which is a corrected text, so to speak. It's a critical text, rather. So when you see a footnote here, as I've shared with you guys many times on the channel, this is referencing a comment in the critical apparatus where it might say, hey, the Septuagint saw this as a word with different vowels, right? And they translated it this way. Or the Samaritan Pentateuch, which is written in Paleo Hebrew, has it this way, right? So it's really useful. Now, more and more, we're starting to rely more heavily on the more modern BHQ, Biblia Hebraica Quinta, as that gets finished up, which is a better and more updated apparatus, more often referring to the Dead Sea Scrolls and stuff like that, incorporating the data. And what's nice about it is instead of being written in Latin, the notes, Latin and German, the notes in that one are actually in English. Imagine that. The biblical scholarship has finally caught up with the fact that English is the international language. So yay, yay, yay. Thank you mostly to Great Britain to that, and a little bit to the United States for making English supreme. All right, convenient for us English speakers. So let's get started. So we'll read first from the BHS, not the WOC. This is not the Westminster Leningrad Codex, but the Biblia Hebraica Stuttgartensia. But as you see, they're almost identical, right? Usually it's just a note that says, by the way, we recommend this particular reading or whatever. Vayhi ki zaken Yitzchak v'tichena einayv merot vayikra et Esau beno hagadol vayomer elai beno Vayomer elai hineni. Okay. Vahi ki zaken Yitzchak. And it was that Yitzchak was zaken. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot we're going to read this part from the actual scroll. Okay, so let's look at the scroll. Vahi ki zaken Yitzchak. And it was ki that zaken. See, those words kind of look like they run together in the codex, don't they? Yitzchak, Isaac. Vatichena. This is a feminine plural form. The T and the, I should have said na. Vatichena. And they were, the verb is kaha. Kaf, hey, it's kind of a rare word. It means like to grow dim or to grow dark. So, and they had grown dark, they had grown dim. What had? Here's the subject. Erinav, his eyes. Me'rot. Me is min, and then this is an infinitive form of ra'ah, reish, aleph, hey. They became a tav, because this is what we call the infinitive construct. So me'rot, from seeing. Vatichena erinav. And his erinayim had kahad. They'd grown dark, they'd grown dim. Me'rot, from seeing. And I just realized I'm going to do something to make it a bit easier to follow along, as we believe in continual improvement over here. Let's see how this works out today. I'm going to try something. Okay. So the part I'm reading in the BHQ, so now we're on verse. I'm going to mark with a certain color, and I'll mark with that same color where that is in the scroll. Right there. Okay. And actually, we didn't finish verse 1, so let's continue. Okay, learning. It's actually going to reset the colors whenever I turn that off to show the laser pointer again. So maybe I'll use a mouse instead for tracking. So actually, let's not do verse by verse. Here we're at Vayikra. So I'll put a little red arrow here. And then we'll do the red arrow in the scroll so it's easier to follow along. Okay? Vayikra. Then he called et Esau, Beno, his son, Hagadol, the older. Vayomer, and he said, a life unto him. Beni, my son. Vayomer, and he said, a life unto him. Hineni, here am I. And I'm just going to do some more markings with colors here to kind of make it easier to follow along. So we've got the second Vayomer. Then he said, okay, and that's over here on the BHQ. So hopefully these color-coded marks make it easier for people who want to try to read the text in the ancient codex to try. Vayomer, and he said, alive unto him, Hineni, here am I. Now for this part, Vatichena, a knife. Then his eyes had grown dim, merot, from seeing. In the Talmud tractate Sota 13a, it says it teaches the phrase Isaac was old and his eyes were dim. Vatichena einav merot, but we already had Kizaken and Yitzchak, indicates not only physical blindness, but also a symbolic blindness to the deceit that would unfold, underscoring the tragic vulnerability of Isaac in this episode. Again, that's in the Talmud tractate Sota, page 13, the first side of the page. In the Talmud, each page doesn't really have its own number. It's not like in English where you look at the page and it's got a number, then you turn the page and the back side is a different number. In the Talmud, a daf, which is Aramaic for page, it's both sides of the page. It's the physical paper, right? And then you have A is the front side, and actually Aleph is the front side and Beit is the back side, but usually referenced in modern times as A and B. All right, let's continue with Genesis chapter 27, verse 2. We'll read from the HQ, and I will put a marker here, green marker, to make that easier to find if you want to follow along in the ancient codex. Sorry, I have the icon, Genesis 27:2, in a bit of a strange place. It should have been here. So you can follow the green arrow if you're wanting to follow along. You can see here and here, right? We've got, in fact, we could even make it a little bit better. There you go. Now you totally can find it. All right. And I'm not going to zoom in. That way, those who want to read from the scroll, they can practice doing that. Vayomer Hinena zakanti lo yadati yomoti. Okay. Looking at the scroll, or the codex. Vayomer. Then he, Amar, said, Hine, look, check it out, behold, now, Zakanti, I have become Zakain. Right? The adjectival form you can see up above. Vaihi ki Zakain Yitzchak. For it was that Yitzchak was Zakain. Right? And now we have the verb, Zakan, to become old or to be old. Look. And here you can see the marker for the comment that's coming up. We have the same color-coded comment in both places. So you've got lots of ways to follow along now. Lots of anchor points. Look, not. Yadati. Look at that yod. Look how long that yod is, right? You just got to get used to that with this particular scribe. Don't I know? I don't know. You'll notice, for those of you who've studied modern Hebrew dialect, how would we say this in modern Hebrew? Well, we'd say lo yodea, or ani lo yodea, I, not a knowing one, right? Participle form. You don't do it that way in biblical Hebrew. In biblical Hebrew, it's treated statively. You're in a state of knowing or not knowing. Same thing oftentimes with memory. So the idea is if it's perfect, if you knew, then you probably still know. So it's kind of assuming perfect memory. So lo yadati means I didn't know. That's true. It doesn't mean that. But the idea is that because you didn't know, you don't know now. So even though we would interpret this as present tense in English, that's a perfect in Hebrew. So it looks like it's a past tense form. Lo yadati, not I know. Construct chain. Da. Yom mot'i. Yom mot'i. Because the last word has e at the end, we say the yom, the day of my mot, my death. Yom moti, the day of my death. Little construct chain right there. Continue on, and maybe we'll use another marker here. Oh yeah, let's mark verse 3 with a different color. Okay, so verse 3 in the BHS, like that. And verse 3 here. Sorry, it's not very pretty, but you get the idea. Oh, actually, we have a comment on the lo yadati yom moti. The Ol HaChaim taught that Isaac spoke of the day of his death, meaning that his soul was about to depart, referring to the soul as days, as in the verse in Deuteronomy. It's very interesting. So there's kind of a deeper understanding of the word yom there. The day of his death, yom moti, because his soul is about to depart. So days, yamim, is being used metaphorically to be the soul, the neshama. Not to confuse soul. The Or HaChaim is using the Hebrew understanding of soul, the nefesh. The nefesh is the part of our existence which animates the cells. It is the life force, the nefesh. Although that word has many meanings and nuances, this is probably the most common meaning, nefesh. Nefesh can mean life force. We can render it just straightly as soul, as long as you understand what soul means. It's not like the part which survives death. When the soul dies, the body's dead. Right? There's nothing left to animate the stuff. But nefesh can, in context, you must nuance it properly. It can mean a human corpse. It can mean a person, just in general, like a person. When there's a commandment that applies both to men and women, sometimes nefesh will be used. It can mean the throat, like David HaMelech says in one of the Psalms, Kishetef mayim ad nafshi, for a flood or a sheet of water, flooding of water, has reached my nefesh, my neck or my throat. So it can mean appetite. It can even mean the imagination, right? So it's a very highly nuanced word, as many Hebrew words are. So just be careful when someone's telling you something that doesn't feel true, and they're just showing you, look, it means this, and they like whip out a Strong's Concordance or something. Be careful. Be careful. They might not be showing you the full truth, or maybe they don't even know that many words have many meanings in biblical Hebrew. All right, so let's continue. Verse 3, I'll read first from the BHQ. Ve'ata sana chelecha K'yecha ve'kashtecha v'tzei hasadeh v'tzudali tzayda. Oops, I didn't mean to draw there. That was interesting. It's okay. I think I can erase it. Let's see. Yeah. How you liking the new tools? I hope this is helpful for you guys as we aim to improve. So, follow the pink arrow. Here we are. Genesis chapter 7, verse 3 in the ancient Leningrad Codex. Ve'ata. So now, don't confuse it with ata meaning you. That one's with an aleph. That's ata. This is ve'ata. Now. Sa. Na. Sa is actually nasa. Nasa. It's a pay noon verb. So there would usually be, look at the BHQ, there'd be a noon there. Right? That's part of the verbal form. These kind of verbs, the noon will disappear very often. Sometimes it leaves a footprint, sometimes not. So the command form of nasa is sa. Sa. Nasa, if you've done my vocabulary videos on these words, nasa, I have a rocket, right? Just think that NASA carries things into space. Nasa is to carry, to bear, to carry. So literally he's saying carry na. Now, chelecha. This is from kelim, or chele rather, chele. Keli, you've seen this word many times. This is a very flexible word. It means basically stuff. So the chele nashim, the stuff of women, these are like jewelries and makeup and that kind of stuff. Or there's chele milchama, the stuff of war, the instruments of war. That could be a shield, a sword, etc. Or you might have the kalei hamishkan, the vessels of the mishkan, right, of the tabernacle. And so this can be various items that are used in servicing the menorah and such, the Levitical items. So you see it's a very flexible word. Here, Yitzchak Avinu is using it as chelecha, your instruments, your things, right? And he's going to clarify what he means by that with the next word. Tel yecha. Tel yecha. Your quiver, right? The place where the arrows go. Vekash techa. Vekash techa. And your keshet, your bow. Let's mark this with another color. That's a good anchor point, I think. Oh, I made all my markings disappear. Oh, well, at least you're following along where we are now, right? I'm learning how this tool works. So I spent several hours searching for a tool that would allow me to do this, where the menu of the tool would not show up in the video when I was doing it. I didn't want anything being blocked, right? So we have keshet. Okay. And here we have keshet. It was a little bit hard to see, but I think you can kind of... Keshet is a bow. It just changes the vowels because we put a suffix on it. It's a seglet, so it behaves just like the word melech, right? So melech is king. Your king is malkecha, when it's got the atnachta on it, like here, right? Keshet is bow. Kash techa is your bow, right? So it follows that pattern. Vekash techa. So he's saying, get your tools. Yeah, it can mean tool also. Sana, take up. Chelecha, your tools or instruments. Tel yecha, your quiver. Vekash techa, and your bow. Like, don't forget the arrows, the quiver. Vetsei. Now, tsei, this is a pardon me, I was changing colors. A peyod verb. So this one is missing the yod. The yod. The yod goes up inside there. So yatsa. Yatsa is one of those words. We've had a vocabulary video on this. Yatsa is to go out. The exodus from Egypt in Hebrew is called the Yetziat Mitzrayim, or Yetzias in Ashkenazi. Yetzias Mitzrayim. The exodus from Egypt, the going out from Egypt. So Vetsei is the command form, so we lose the yod the same way we lost the noon on this nasa. Vetsei, and go out. Ha-sadeh, the field. And you don't worry about translating these guys. These are just white space markers the scribe has to not make an error. Vetsuda li Said. And hunt li for me, Said. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Usually we'd say Said. I'm not sure why the hay's there at the end. And it seems there's some kind of note in the critical apparatus. Okay, let's continue. Genesis chapter 27, verse 4. ועשה לי מטעמים כאשר אהבתי, והביאה לי ואוכלה בעבורו, תברכך נפשי בטרם אמות. Right, now we'll read from the Codex. V'aseh, this is an imperative form. You guys know this verb. And do or make li for me. Mat ha'amim, dainties or like yummy foods. Ka'asher, according to how. Ahavti, I love. And I will just put a marker here so you guys can follow along. Oh, that doesn't look good, does it? Ahavti, I love, is right here. There we go. Vehavia li. This is from the verb bo, beit, vav, aleph. The vav is gone. This is a he fill form. You can tell by the hey in front. It's easier to see over here. So cause to come. Bring, in other words. And then the hey at the end is vehavia, and bring it. What's it? That's the game, right? The mata'amim, li, to me. Ve'ochela, and I will achal, the two olives collapse there, and I will eat it. Or probably indeed I will eat. Okay, so yeah, we could treat either of these as the cohortative. Ochela. So that's like an imperative letter at the end, the hey possibly instead of it. I think that makes more sense. And indeed I will eat. Something like that, right? Like definitely I will eat. So vehavia, and indeed bring, li, to me. Ve'ochela, and indeed I will eat. Don't get confused, these two dots. Here, I think these are not. Well, the one I think is just the bait breaking up, and I'm not really sure why there's a. Oh, the dagesh from the middle of the bait. The scribe moved it to the left a bit. See, it should look like this. It moved it a bit. Okay, ba'avul, on account of, or so that. Tevarecha, that she may bless you. Why she? Nafshi, my nefesh, my soul. Soul is feminine. My life. Beterem, before amut, I will die. Beterem amut, before I will die. In the Talmud, Tractate Berachot, page 7a, we learn that Isaac's desire to bless Esau before he dies reflects the urgency and sacred weight of blessing as a critical transfer of spiritual inheritance. So parents, make sure to be blessing your children. If you're new to the Bnei Israel movement, doesn't matter whether you're born Jewish or not, you should keep in mind that some of this our traditions have answers for. So, for example, on Friday night, it's customary for the father to put the children, if they're at the age that they can go on his lap, or otherwise just to touch their heads and to bless the children and the family. Right? And there's a special blessing for the girls and a special blessing for the boys. And it's a really nice thing to do, and there is power in this. There's spiritual significance. We're following our heritage. We are emulating our ancestors. But we're making sure that we do it. We don't have the kind of health they did. We don't live as long as they did. And so it's important to do it as often as possible. And Shabbat is just a perfect time for this. So I hope you're doing this in your household. If not, reach out to us over on the Bnei Israel chat, and we can share with you some of the ancient blessings that are used. And you can give that gift to your children to grow up in this way. All right, verse 5. V'rivka שומעת מדבר יצחק אל עשיו בנו וילך עשיו השדה לצוד צעיד lehavi. Yeah, see here, remember I told you it was weird to have the hey at the end? Saeed is how you usually would expect to see the word gain. By the way, where we had say the with the hey, the Samaritan Torah for some reason has a tav at the end there. From the previous verse 3 or so. Alright, let's translate from the scroll. The Rivka Shoma'at was listening. Bedaber Yitzchak. When Yitzchak was speaking, this is again an infinitive construct, so literally it's be in the Daber Yitzchak, the speaking of Yitzchak. But that's just one way to say when Yitzchak was speaking. El unto Esau beno. Esau, his son. Vayelech. Esau. Then Esau went, or when Esau went, when he halacht. So we have the hey is missing. I'll just indicate this. Look over at the BHQ part. The verbal root is hey, lamed, kaf. And the hey disappeared. So the verb is halach, to walk. Yelech is he is walking, or he will walk. Ba yelech is when he walked, or when he went. Who went? Esau, hasadeh, the field. And you might notice there's these things in the ancient text. Those are just space fillers, right? The scribe put that in so that nobody would think that there was something missing over the years, right? And sure enough, they show us nothing disappeared from the text. Okay, we will continue on now with El Esau. El Esau. Oh, I'm sorry. I looped a little bit there. I should have said we will continue now with Latsud. In case you're coming in late, I'm just doing these colorized markers to make it easier for people who want to follow along in the ancient text. Latsud, to hunt. Saeed. That sounds like an Arab guy's name. Hey, it's Saeed. Esau went out to hunt Saeed. By the way, Esau was not the father of the Arabs, neither is Ishmael. Those peoples pre-existed. So there's just a little bit of revisionist history that happens sometimes. Saeed, game. Lehavi, to cause to come, so to bring. Right? Verse 6. Looking at the BHQ. Rivka amara el Yaakov benach lemo hine שמעתי את אביך מדבר אל עשיו אחיך לאמור. So 6 from the scroll. The Rivka amara. Now Rivka said, El unto Yaakov, Jacob, Benah, her son, Lemol, saying, Hine, behold, Shamati, I heard. Oh, go back. Sorry. Oh, my apologies. I heard et Avicha, the father of Cha, you, your father, Medaber, speaking, El Isau, unto Isau. Achicha, your brother. Le'emol, saying. And that's the end of verse 6. Any comments or questions before we move on? Hey, Brenda. I am drinking a nice iced coffee today. It's espresso mixed with ice, naturally, and oat milk. There's no milk in there, just oat milk. And there's a little bit of sugar-free caramel syrup and sugar-free brown sugar cinnamon syrup in there, and a little bit of erythritol. So, mixed up, delicious Sabbath treat. So, all right, that should have given time for any questions. Let's continue with the next part. Oh, actually, I think I'll read all the from the scroll one more time. I meant to be doing that with every page. You know, we're working this out. We're improving as we go along. So I'm going to do that now. So I'm just going to read through it, okay? Genesis 27:4. Ve'aseh li mat'amim ka'asher ahavti ve'heviah li ve'ochela ve'avo tevarechecha nafshi beterem amut ve'rivka shoma'at bedaber Yitzchak el Esau beno v'yelech Esau hasadeh latsud tzayid lehavi. Verse 6. ורבקה אמרה אל יעקב בנה לאמור, הנה שמעתי את אביך מדבר אל עשו אחיך לאמור. All right, let's continue. Verse 27. Pardon me, verse 7. Wait. Yes, Genesis 27, verse 7. Threw me for a second. All right, let's read from the BHQ. Havia li tzayid ve'aseh li mat'amim ve'ochela v'avechecha lifnei Adonai lifnei moti. If you heard me pause, I just was like, wait a second, did we just read this? And then I remembered, oh yeah, she's telling Yaakov what she heard. So I'm like, wait, did we do this verse already? That's nice coffee. All right, let's look from the scroll now. Havia, bring, indeed, the hey, indeed, li, to me, Said, game, ve'aseh, and make li for me, mat'amim, like dainty, like dainties, yummy yummies. I remember learning this as dainties. This is probably back when I was using Gesenius. Gesenius was my lexicon of choice back in the day. This is basically the same thing as BDB, for any of you who are looking for a relatively inexpensive lexicon. Brown Driver Briggs is built off of Wilhelm Gesenius, the German Orientalist's work. Very good lexicon for if you're on a budget. That's the one to go for. And then if you've got unlimited budget, the two lexicons I would recommend are Halat, if you read German. I have a beautiful set of these on my shelf. Thank you so much to my wife's friend who brought them from Finland for me. I was able to buy them in Europe, and the friend was coming back to Philippines from Finland, so just perfect. Giant 6 volumes. Or you can get the English edition of this, known as Halot. And this Halat I think is better just because, it hasn't been translated from German into English. So you're closer to the source. But Halot is also very excellently translated. These are the go-to lexicons for most scholars. And then I also recommend DCH, the Dictionary of Classical Hebrew. That is a very cool, again, multi-volume lexicon. It's just a beast, just a giant 8-volume beast, 9 when you include the Aramaic volume. And what's cool about it is Klein's, may he rest in peace, the scholar died recently, he believed that Hebrew should define Hebrew. So whereas Gesenius, BDB, Halat, Halot, these all use kind of a normal methodology of using cognate languages to figure out rare words. So when we're not sure of what a Hebrew word means because it's only one time or two times in the whole corpus of the Bible, they will look at Ugaritic. Oh, not Gesenius and BDB. That's the one weakness. Ugaritic hadn't been discovered yet. But Halot will. They'll look at Ugaritic, or all of them. They'll look at Akkadian, or they'll look at Old Southern Arabic, or Ethiopic, Ge'ez, these other Semitic languages, Aramaic, various flavors, and kind of pin it down that way. And that's very reasonable and sound. It's just kind of nice to get the other perspective sometimes from DCH, where all Hebrew is defined in terms of Hebrew, right? So what they do is they list in their dictionary every single occurrence of the word in question, everywhere it shows up, from everything that's ever been found in Israel up until the PBH, the post-biblical Hebrew period, so just before Mishnaic Hebrew. They don't get into the Mishnah usually. Sometimes they do if they need to, but usually not. And so all the Dead Sea Scroll stuff is in there, right? Any kind of pottery that's been found, and it's cataloged. This is over here like this. So it's kind of interesting. So if there's a word that's rare in biblical Hebrew, they will look to later Hebrew forms to try to figure out what that word means. So it's my go-to is Halot. Sometimes I will look to DCH when it's an interesting or just kind of a rare word, or I'm trying to go deeper. What else could this mean? To get some perspective. So those are really both interesting lexicons, and they kind of both have their place. All right. Ve'achela, and indeed I will eat. Ve'avarecha, then I will bless you. Notice how cha is written here. That's kind of interesting. Right? Cha, an older way, with the hay intact. Lifnei Adonai, before Adonai. Lifnei, before mot'i, my death, or before I die. Before Adonai, I want to expound on that a little bit. The Or HaChaim notes that the blessing before God indicates it was to be a divine blessing, not merely paternal. Any comments or questions? How interesting. The mute button on my new microphone has stopped working. I thought AKG is supposed to be quality. How weird. It will not mute. Now I'm worried, what if it's continually muted? How strange. 3 to 5 minute break now. Just listen to a Hebrew original song, and when it's done, the break is done.
What to do when you know you could be rich again? Not so sure how it will affect your kin. You've been there before, kinda nice with lots of dough. But there's a flip side, don't you know? Instead expand minds, yield the times you're living in. Don't forget or you'll neglect the little ones again. Balance your day, crank away, sharing all you've got. It's harder for now, but then there's Olam Haba. It's coming and it's for real. Don't lose sight, you're bringing passengers with us. Olam Haba, outpacing our years. How does it feel seeing beyond all the social hypnosis? Had two worlds, more than most. Been the pauper and the host, living that is. But there's more than this. Kids need clothes, mama's mad, where do we go? Don't go backwards, you know David said, that's for enemies. Olam Haba, it's coming, it's for real. Don't lose sight, you're bringing passengers with us. All I'm about, outpacing our years. How does it feel seeing beyond all the social hypnosis? So you dig in, settle down, learn how to scrape by on half-a crown. Many they take and few they pay. Why you so greedy anyway? Nobody knows you could be a millionaire, living to the hilt without a care. And the kids would be tutored and the wife well kept. But what about then? What about when? All I'm about, it's coming, it's for real. Don't lose sight, you're bringing passengers with us. All I'm about, outpacing our years. How does it feel seeing beyond all the social hypnosis?
And we're back. Okay, things should be better now. I didn't realize that the microphone was flaking out already and not showing mute. I don't understand. It's in a nice, fairly cool temperature in the studio downstairs. We're running dehumidifiers down here to keep the humidity low. I don't know why a fairly new microphone like this would be flaking out. I didn't even know that it was muting before, so sorry if the recording wasn't great before. Anyway, that just means it was falling back on a different microphone. At least it recorded, yeah? So, all right. By the way, if anybody's ever moved and you want to just sponsor some professional grade equipment for us, that would be really wonderful. I think there's enough effort and enough knowledge in these lessons that it warrants having good equipment to really be a high quality recording. I do the best with what I have, but it's just weird sometimes. All right, let's continue. I think what happens sometimes with donations is people see that we have so many subscribers, like 8,000 subscribers on YouTube, and they think, oh, wow, there's so many supporters. But no, most subscribers do not support us at all. You'd be shocked. Most do not. Even people who study with me almost daily, a lot of people, they don't give anything. So it's not what you think. If you want to see what we are bringing in from this teaching, go to my Patreon, and I have full transparency there. You can see on the front page how much money's been given over on Patreon, and then you could add maybe like another 25% to that, to what's given by other means from outside of that source, and that's how much we're bringing in here, family of 8. So just to kind of track, if you want to see what we're surviving on, that's what's happening. Okay, so no guilt, but just don't assume that because we have 8,000 followers on YouTube where we are not monetized. There's a few reasons for that. They kept showing like Islamic advertisements on our channel before when we monetized early on. And there's also some other things too, like if someone donates on YouTube, if they do a super chat or if they join the channel, YouTube takes 30% of it's not just they help themselves, so yeah, they take a lot. And maybe it wouldn't matter if we were healthily supported above the American poverty line, that'd be fine. But when you're operating as thinly as we are, and just on thin margins, then you don't want anybody taking 30%, and you certainly don't want advertisements for another religion running on your channel, right? So, and that just kept happening. It's so hard to stop. So, yeah. So until they get their stuff together, we are not going to monetize over there. All right, so again, you might see 8,000 subscribers and think, ooh, success. Just barely. Just barely putting food on the table. All right, so here we are. Continuing with Genesis chapter 27, verse 8. Let's look at the BHQ first. Ve'ataveni shema bekoli la'asher ani metzava otach. Okay. Ve'ata. Oh, sorry, I meant to go to the scroll. Ve'ata. And now, Veni, my son, shema bekoli. This is a Hebrew idiom which means obey me. Hear in the voice of me, that means obey me. Right? So, Rivka is making sure that Yaakov understands. She's appealing to the honor your parents command. So this is, pay attention, those people who are kind of anti-Israeli or anti-Jewish. I know some people come to the channel just because of the Hebrew, right? But pay attention. It is not Jacob who came up with the idea to deceive his father. His mother demanded that he obey her. His mother was a prophetess, and she had received from God that Jacob is supposed to be the son of inheritance. He is the one. There's a divine order that this must happen, and Isaac, our ancestor, is messing it up. He's messing it up. So in this particular case, due to the prophecy from God and the commandment from his mother, and she's not going to mince words. So watch what she does. First she says, Shema bekoli. Hearken to my voice, you could understand it that way. But it's really like obey me. La asher. Now this is interesting. You don't see this that often. La asher. That's very, very interesting. This is, it's kind of a strange form. And Rivka, we see in other places, she speaks a bit weirdly, she'll say lazeh, right? Instead of hazeh, and things like that. So we're seeing, very interestingly, her speech patterns bleeding through in the text. Just one of the other niceties of studying the text in the original language. You see the way that people spoke has been preserved. I just love that so much. So la asher, which really what she means is ka asher, according to how ani, I, mitzvah, am commanding or have commanded otach, you. So she says, Shema bekoli, obey me, la asher, according to how ani mitzvah, I have commanded otach, you. She's not mincing words. She's saying, I'm your mother and you do what I say. And it's interesting because Yaakov is already a grown man. He's an adult. He's way into adulthood. Just way into adulthood. He's an adult. It's not a little boy like it kind of feels when you're reading the story. But he's been busy studying. He's been staying at home. I know some people like this. Their parents allow them to just study the Bible a lot while they're not yet married. And that's good. If you have that situation, that's good. Nothing to be ashamed of with that. Just strengthening your spiritual fortitude before you start a family. Mazel tov for those who are able to do that. Nothing to be ashamed of in that particular case. That is excellent. I would have loved to have had that. It's a very, very good situation. The Ol HaChaim notices Rebekah urged Jacob to obey her voice as a commandment, linking it to honoring parents. He has to honor her. He has to obey. This is not, he's a sneaker, see? I'm sorry, I can't really do a Jordan Peterson voice, He's a trickster. No. You're buying into the fake news. You're buying into the Edomite propaganda that Yaakov means usurper. Doesn't mean that. It means grabbing the heel. It means one who gives, one who heals. Heels, not Rafa heals. Not like making someone not sick anymore. No mother's going to name her child, I'll call him usurper. Come on. Fake news. You're buying into the enemies of Israel statements. And I cannot tell you how many arguments I've had with Hebrew roots types or just normal regular recipe Christians about this. They just want to hold on, especially Southern men. Men from this, there's a lot of Southerners who are very devout and you see things rightly. And so I'm not, and you guys, I'm from, okay, so even though I don't sound like it, my parents are from New York. Maybe that kind of was an inoculation against the Southern. No, I try not to use Southern. When I get tired, I slip into it. But just because foreigners a lot of times don't understand it as well, right? So, but yeah, the they see themselves in Esau because he's a hunter, right? They like Esau. They feel bad for Esau. I'm like, dude, the Torah tells us that he bezad, he despised the birthright. The Torah does not paint him in a good light. Just because he cries and shows emotion, don't you have a blessing for me, Father? Again, grown man. Grown man. This is not a little boy being treated badly by his father. This is a grown adult man, past the age of 30, well past. His brain is totally formed. I don't know, a blessing for me, Father. But you just give in to that emotion. Man, come now. Where's your logic? Where's your reason? Jacob's not a usurper. He's not. He's a man who obeys his mother, the prophetess. And he knows that he transactionally acquired the birthright as well because his brother did not give a damn. Didn't care about it. His brother, his brother's got something in common with Nimrod. In the South, by the way, that's an insult. You Nimrod. All right, let's see. Verse 9. Chna el hatzon v'kach li misham shenei yedayei izim tovim. Okay, let's stop there with the nachta. Lech. So again, this is from Halach. I wasn't reading from the scroll, was I? We'll read from the scroll in a bit. Here it is. We would expect a hey. Right? Halach, to go. It's a command. Lech, go. Na. El unto hatzon, the flock. V'kach, this is from lakach. It has disappeared. I'll write it in both places. That can be our anchor for finding things. Lakach, to take. You drop the lamed. Kach, and take. Li, for me. Misham, that's min sham, from there. Da shenei, two of. Da Gedaye, kids of Izim, goats. Tovim, good ones. Tov, the vav was dropped from the script, but the Masoretes added the yod there. Pardon me, added the cholam, the dot, to correct it. Oh, that's right. Let's count the rest. Sorry. Ve'isei otam mat'amim yavicha kasher ahev. I say, and I will make them mat'amim, dainties, tasty treats, le'avicha, for the father of Cha, of you, asher, according to how ahev, he. You guys doing okay? Any comments or questions? Okay, verse 10, I'm going to mark with a green arrow. Can't miss it. Look at all those green arrows. Maybe underline as well, yeah? The first word. All right, let's look at the BHQ. Ve'heveita le'avicha ve'achal va'avuhu asher yevarecha lifnei moto. Okay, 10. Ve'heveita. So this is a he fill. See, we got the red hay there. I mark it with red to show that it's a he fill. You can see I have the marker nicely in the BHQ. So cause to bow, cause to come, ta you. You will cause to come. And usually we like to mark the affixes on verbs that tell you the person with blue. Just do it on that one word. You get the whole thing. Ve'heveita. And actually, we even have a vav conversive, don't we? Dun, da, 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 the vav. So, heveita is you will cause to come, meaning you will bring. And in this case, the vav changes it. I'm sorry, heveita is you brought, but ve'heveita means and you will bring. Le to avecha, your father, ve'achal. Achal is he ate, but ve'achal, and he will eat. He will eat. He will eat. Well, that's what it says. Literally, he will eat. He will eat. Let's just mark this with maybe pink, so you guys can keep following. Ba'avul, on account of Asher, when Yivarecha, he will barach, he will bless you. Cha, lifnei moto, before he dies. Right. 11. I think I'll use white. I don't think the yellow shows too well on the Leningrad Codex. Okay. So in the BHQ, Vayomer Yaakov El Rivka imo Hen Esau Achi Ish Sha'ir Vanochi Ish Chalak. Okay. Verse 11 starts here. Vayomer Yaakov. Then Yaakov said, El unto Rivka, the mother of him. Hain, behold, Esau, Achi, my brother, is an Ish Sa'il. He's a hairy man, a man of hair. Ve'anochi, while I am Ish, a man, Chalak. Notice he says Anochi. There's no special thing about Anochi or Ani. His mother said Ani. He says Anochi. They're just how they speak. Okay, they're synonyms, complete synonyms. Neither one is more special than the other. And I know there's some teachers who think differently about this, so I'm just making it clear. It's quite obvious they mean the exact same thing. One is just an older form. Okay, any comments or questions? All right, we're about an hour into our study now. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you're following along okay. Let me have some comments if you have any suggestions on how to improve this. I know some of you want to see the video of me. Sometimes I put it up, sometimes not. Today I decided not to because there's not much real estate on the screen right now, really. And I'm still getting some stuff figured out to keep the audio smooth while the video is recording as well. And I don't want to risk harming the audio just so that you can see me smiling and waving and pointing at things. So there is a reason. All right. I'm going to take a quick drink. Feel free to write your comments or questions in the live chat. Special thanks to my patrons out there. I really appreciate you guys. If you haven't joined my Patreon, please consider. You can join for free for now. There's a lot of stuff over there that's free that is not present on my YouTube channel. So you can, for example, the Cycle 1 Triennial Torah teachings are there. I edit those and put those out usually in 3 parts weekly. I try to. And that's kind of an intermediate level, I would say, where now we're kind of on an advanced level, at least with the Hebrew. And unfortunately, the intro level mysteriously was deleted from the server of one of our elders. He doesn't know what happened. He says, it's so weird. The drives were just deleted, just totally deleted. So we don't have the intro level for you guys. Sorry about that. But there is intermediate, and here we're on advanced for the Torah portions here. All right, let's continue. Oh, I didn't translate. Chalak is smooth. I'm an ish chalak. I'm not sure if I translated or not. I am a smooth man. He's a hairy man. I'm a smooth man. My bar mitzvah rabbi, Rabbi Jacob, was a very hairy man. I always think of him when not the spiritual qualities of Esau. He's a tzaddik, but just it's fun to think about that. All right, let's read verse 12. Ulahai yamusheni avihi v'haiti v'naiv kim ta'atea v'heveti alai kelala velo veracha. Ulai, perhaps, yemusheni. He will feel or touch. Yeah, he will feel me. Avi, my father. Vehaiti, then I will be. Ve'einaiv, in the einayim, the eyes of him, in his eyes, in his sight. Ke, like metatea. Now, this is a very rare word. The root of this guy is ta'ah. Tav, ayin, to mock. And the form that we see it in here, what's this, a palpel? Looks like a palpel form. It might be pilpel. Anyway, it's basically an alternative PL. It only occurs in the entire Bible this one place. So when you see it, you just kind of recognize it in context. Don't really need to memorize it because most people remember the story, but it's a pilpel participle. So I will appear ke metaltea, as one who, where is it over here? Ke metatea. Do a white arrow also while we're here. As one who mocks. As a mocker. Veheveti, and I will cause to come, so I will bring the alai upon me. Long yod there. Kelala, a curse. And not the acha, a blessing. Okay, verse 13. Marked with fuchsia. Okay, let's read from the BHQ first. Atomer lo imo alai kilatecha beni ach shema bekoli velech kachli. Okay. Vatomer, then she said, lo, to him, imo, his mother, alai, upon me, kilala, is the curse. Oh, kilatecha, sorry, it's kind of hard to see sometimes in the Leningrad Codex there. Beni, my son. Ach, only, or just, shema, bekoli, obey me. Velech, and go. Kach, take li for me, meaning take the animal. All right. 14. Looking in the scroll here. Well, that's verse. Oh, I'm sorry, wrong. Well, I can't really say that. Okay. 14 is right there. Okay. Vayelech vayikach vayave le'imo. Let's stop with the nachta. Vayelech. So he halacht, he went. Vayikach, again, that's lakach, and he took. Vayave, and he brought le'imo, to his mother. Vata. Oh, sorry. Let's continue. Vata as imo matamim kasher ahev aviv. Vata, as, that of course is the word asa. The hay has gone away. And she made the tav at the beginning. This tells us she. Now, it's true, this verb looks exactly the same as you talking to a man. So context tells you, not just this verb, but form, the imperfect third person feminine singular. She is doing, she will do something, looks exactly the same as you will do something or you are doing something. Right? So, and I'll just outline it in the Codex. All right. So ta, the as is she will do or she is doing. The vav conversive changes it to and she did or she made. Who made? Imo, his mother. Mat'amim, dainties. Ka'asher ahev aviv. According to how loved his father. Rabbi Meiri commented, the smoke and aroma of the meal are symbolic of prayers ascending to heaven, connecting the blessing moment with spiritual sanctification. All right, let's continue. Genesis chapter 27, verse 15. We'll look first at the BHQ. Vatikach Rivka et bigdei Esau benaha hagadol hachamudot asher itach ba'bayit v'talbesh et Yaakov benah hakaton. All right, now let's read from the scroll. Vatikach Rivka. Then Rivka took, it's lakach. The lamed is hiding. Right there, you see the dagesh? That's telling you, hey, there's a lamed hiding inside of me. The lamed went inside of the dagesh. Inside of the kuf. And the dagesh is evidence that it once was there. Then, et, we don't translate, construct chain, bigdei Isav. Bigdei Isav. These are the garments, the begadim, the garments of Isav. Benah, her son. Hagadol, the older one, literally the great one. Hachamudot, desirable ones, so some of the best garments that he had. Oh, look, it's Muhammad in the Bible because it's got the same root. Hamad. Oh. Oh. It's funny. Sometimes, moon worshippers will make this claim that there is in the Bible just because the same Semitic root shows up in a different word. It's just, you need to be able to see through those arguments. It is absolutely laughable. All right, just so you know, okay? Having the same three-letter root is not the same as somebody's name. And his name wasn't even always that name. He changed his name to make himself worshipped. The name of their prophet would be like someone calling themselves, in Hebrew, would be like Mehulal, if your name was Mehulal, the praised one. He'd say, should a human have a name like this, or someone who wants to be worshipped? And he chose it himself. He changed his name. So, the ego on that guy. He's like the polar opposite of Moses. Like Moshe and the religion of Shalom's prophet are opposites. One guy is the humblest of the planet, we're told in the book of Numbers, and the other guy called himself the praised one. Okay. Mehulal, the one who's halleled. We say hallelujah, not hallelujah, that guy. Okay. Sorry, I can't mute the microphone today because it's flaking out. I don't know when it's muted, when it's not. And the backup mic ends up recording. It doesn't sound as good, so we'll just have to hear my coughing. Oops, sorry, I went too far. From the Talmud, Tractate Sota, page 12a, we learn that Rebecca taking Esau's goodly garments, his garments that are chamudot, represents her prep Love. You need to not repeat the mantra that you go all the way back, because you don't. You don't go to. There's one council that you don't like, and that's the one run by actual apostles. Okay, the Jerusalem Council. Go and study that. Study the words of Messiah. Study the book of Luke, and see how you've been deceived, sadly. And we see this pattern all the time. The Nachash, that ancient enemy of God, is very sneaky. When he sees a movement is taking place and it's going to save people and reform them, what does he do? He takes control of the movement. I'm not saying Protestantism is any better. Look what happens with the Protestants. You have righteous men like John Huss and John Wycliffe. Oh, lots of Johns, right? You have other martyrs who gave their lives translating the Bible, wanting the people to understand what the Bible says. And what happens? The devil says, I will raise up my servant Martin Luther to be a wicked man, to lead people astray, to have people watch when he has sex with his wife on their wedding night, to have people in the bridal chamber watching. It's like pornography 101. I will raise up my servant, the wicked Martin Luther, to lay the seeds for the Holocaust. And indeed, the Nazis reprinted Luther's book on the Jews and their lies, and they taught it to students in school, and they handed it out as anti-Semitic propaganda without changing the words, because Luther was such a wicked man who hated God's people and wanted to destroy us, and convinced the electorate of Saxony to kick all Jews out in the middle of winter. You think many died from that? And to give a special edict to let all the people know in Saxony, hey, by the way, there will be no protection for these Jews on the highway, meaning rob them, murder them, rape them, do what you want. I should have said grape, right? Because whatever. So yeah, you can see this pattern of the Nachash. He sees something good is starting that's going to help people to be in touch, and he hijacks the movement. He gets a man of great ego and he raises him up. If you don't believe me, just read some of Martin Luther's sermons. I've read some of them in the German, all right? So I don't know I think they probably get censored when translated into English. But the disgusting language he uses, talking about, how can I make it nice, sphincters and such. It's just so gross. No pastor today could keep his job if he spoke the way that Luther spoke, even before he went full-on anti-Semitic and murderous. One of the Anabaptists murdered for believing that the Holy Spirit can speak to all believers and they can all teach each other. So, beware. Are indeed many wolves in sheep's clothing among the believers. And they've hijacked the movements. Roman Catholicism, I don't get into that. How many wicked popes there have been and what's happened to children. All right. Verse 16. Ve'et orot gedayei ha'izim habisha al yadayv ve'al chelkat tzavarayv. All right, 16. Here we are. Ve'et orot. This is a big construct chain here. See? Orot gedayei ha'izim. The skins of the kids, the goats. Hilsha, she clothed the alapon yadah, his hand. Actually, yadav. Sorry, it looked like a hay here. What happened? It's happening. Let me demarcate it for you. Let's pick a bright color, magenta. By the way, the colors I'm using do not have meanings like they do in the legend in our immersion classes, okay? So don't think that hot pink means emphasis or anything like that. So, they're alive. Here we go. Pan al yadayv. Look, there's two vavs. Wait. Oh, yeah, here's what's happening. So that's a vav, and that's a vav. And this is a yod. So, see, yod, if you look over the left side, yod. And then I'll just demonstrate those two vavs. Vav and vav. Many of you said you're having trouble reading from the ancient text. That's why I'm doing the extra colors if you're just coming in now. Upon his hands, ve'al, and upon the chelkat tzava'arayv, the smooth part of his neck. How you guys doing? Let's continue with verse 17. All right. Vatitein et hamata'amim v'et halechem asher asata beyad Yaakov benah. 17. Vatitein. So this, of course, is from the verb natan. What happened is, in ancient Hebrew, was tintain. Tintain. And then the Nun went inside of the Tav, and that's why there's a strong Dagesh there. It went inside. You got that strong Dagesh on the inside. And she gave or placed et ha-mat'amim, the dainties, the et, and ha-lechem, the bread, asher which l'atzato she made be'ta yad Yaakov, into the hand of Jacob, benah, her son. Okay, you've arrived at our second and last break in the teaching. If you want to take a few minutes to use the bathroom, get something to drink, stretch, slap yourself in the face to stay awake, now's the time to do it. Enjoy another Hebrew original song here, and when it's done, so's the break.
Piled stones uncut by man, Kadosh ordained since time immemorial, Yemei Kedem. Visits from the Ancient of Days, dignified it still stands, each stone chosen since the beginning of time. Purged by Shamin and Ash, magnificent, I can't wait to know it in the Olam Haba. Altar of sacrifice, Mizbach Elokim, awesome power so cleansing, cleansing all our sins away. Unlike the nations, our Elohim required, not crafted by ore or any unsheathed sword. He demanded a mizbach avanim, an altar of stones, a mighty and pure mizbeach is what he got. Altar of sacrifice, mizbach Elokim, awesome power so cleansing, cleansing all our sins away. Unlike the nations, our Elohim required, not crafted by ore or any unsheathed sword. He demanded a mizbach avanim, an altar of stones, a mighty and pure mizbeach is what he got. Altar of sacrifice, mizbach Elokim, awesome power so cleansing, cleansing all our sins away. Awesome power so cleansing, cleansing all our sins away.
Hey, welcome back from your second break. Really trying to make everything work really well for everyone. Now we will continue with Genesis chapter 27, verse 18. Okay, and it looks like I made a mistake. Oh, good. Wait, let's see. Great, I didn't. It's here. I thought I left off 18 from the Leningrad Codex, but I didn't, Baruch Hashem. So if you'll look, we have verse 18. It started at the bottom of the column, so I inserted it with this little image up here. So that's verse 18. That's what we see over here for the BHS. And then I'll tell you when we get to verse 19, all right? ויבוא אל אבי ויאמר אבי ויאמר הנני מי אתה בני. All right, and here we see it in the Leningrad Codex. ויבוא, then he came, el, unto Aviv, his father. Over here, Aviv, his father. And I'm just going to mark it with some colors to make it easier for everyone to follow. Vayomer, Vayomer, and he said, Avi, my father. Vayomer, and he said, Hineni, here I am. Mi ata, who are you? Beni, my son. Now, we continue on with verse 19. ויאמר יעקב אל אביו אנוכי עשו בכורך עשיתי כאשר דיברת אלי קום נא שבה ואכלה מצדי בעבור תברכני נפשך. Long verse, huh? Look at that. All of that is 19. Sorry about the green line. Not sure what happened. Vayomer Yaakov. Then Yaakov said, El unto Aviv, his father, Anochi. I saw. Bechorecha, your firstborn. Asiti, I have made or done. Ka'asher, according to how. Dibarta, you spoke, you commanded. Eli unto me. Kum, get up. Na, please. Sheva, take a seat. Ve'achela. Or achela, and she will eat. You'll see why it's she in a moment. Mitzedi, from my game. Ba'avul, on account of her, so that tevarachani, she will bless me. And then here's why we had the she on all those things. Nafshecha, your nefesh. Nefesh is feminine. Now I want to show you something that's happening here. Even though he's commanded by his mother to do this, if you look at our ancient tradition of the ta'amim are these little markers that show us how to sing it, and they also abbreviate the text. They tell you how to read it, and they're much more ancient than this actual codex, the 1,000-year-old codex that we're reading from. There were some Septuagint fragments that were found from 1,000 years before this, right? So this is about 2,000 years ago. I think 2,100 years ago, the fragments were found. And they had spacing between the Greek words. And the spacing matched the ta'amim, like the amount of time you should pause and stuff like that, showing that the tradition of the pausing had been incorporated into one translator's Septuagint. So these ta'amim, even though they first show up, or I think it's around 1,200 years ago, the Tiberias school and such, and there were some actually from Babylon as well, a different system. But what's amazing is the tradition seems to go back 2 eons. So it's just the interpretive way to mark it, which is relatively new, 1,000 years ago or so. So that's really something. I was amazed to learn that. So that means this is an ancient tradition, and it's kind of important. So if we break it up, I have a teaching on this pretty detailed. You'll see in my intermediate teaching, if you want to check that out over on Patreon. But here I'll just kind of summarize it very quickly. So he says, Anochi, it is I. And then we have what's called a munach, this little guy here. This is a disjunctive accent, meaning it's cut off from what came before it. You understand? Let me mark this somehow. The monach, in this ancient tradition, is telling us it's cut off in that first part. So he says, Anochi, it is I. This is what doesn't come across in many translations. So his father says, he asked him, Mi ata, who are you, Beni, my son? Vayoma Yaakov, then Yaakov said, El Aviv, unto his father, Anochi, it is I. It is I. Then we have the disjunctive, and I'm over in the ancient text now, marking it, the monach. Now he starts to speak again. Esau bechorecha. Esau is your firstborn. You see what he's doing? Esau bechorecha. So the pausing, the ancient tradition of the pausing that we have evidences of this from 2,100 years ago in Septuagint fragments. And of course, nicely preserved here in our 1,000-year-old Leningrad Codex. The ancient tradition is important. It shows us how he responds. Even though his mother commanded him to do the deceit, he's still trying not to directly lie to his father. He's trying so hard. You can see by the preserved tradition. It is I. Pause. Esau is your firstborn. And now, truth, more truth. So far, everything's true. I've done according to how you've taught me, told me, commanded me. In general, studied, etc., etc., etc. Okay, he's not saying that you commanded me to make these dainties. I've done in my life according to how you've commanded me. I deserve the birthright. I've done zealously according to how you commanded me. I've learned from Avraham, etc., etc., etc. Some even say from Abel. The first Hebrew, hence the name Eber. That's why we're called Hebrews, by the way. It's not because we crossed over, because there's a verb from the same root that means cross. No. We're called Hebrews because our ancestor, descended from Shem, was Eber. Hence we're Ivrim, descendants of Eber. And we spoke Eber's language, Hebrew. Ivrit was the language of Eber. Anyway, so the whole crossover stuff, I don't know why people get so excited about that. That's not why we're called Hebrews. It is an ethnicity, right? There is an ethnicity, Hebrews, that survives to this day in part through a couple of the tribes. Kumna, arise now. Shiva, take a seat. Ve'achala mitzedi, that you might eat from my game, ba'avur, so that tevarachani nafshecha, your soul may bless me. No lie. No lie. And people may scoff at this tradition, but you don't mind the vowels that are part of the same tradition, these little dots, all over the little dots. These are the same age as the cantillation and grammar marks that are showing how he spoke. Look, folks, this is like, have you ever received a text message from someone and you're upset by it because there was no tone indicated? You couldn't hear the tone. You couldn't hear how the person intended it. And if they had been in front of you talking to you, it might have even made you smile the way they meant it. But that is a dynamic from the communication that is lost in a flattened text. But in our tradition, the ta'amim preserve this. Just like the vowels preserve what the words actually are. And this is important because if you don't have a system like this, and if you just see, for example, this word here, dalet, I'm writing it over above the Leningrad Codex, beit, Reish. If you just saw that, like say in a Dead Sea Scroll that doesn't have vowels, you just saw that. If it was on a fragment, right? Say it's a fragment. A fragment. It's broken. Actually, let's make it broken here. Okay? And you're like, what is that word? Or even not a fragment. Well, that word could be davar, word. Or it could be dever, pestilence. Or it could be devora, a bee. Bzz. Or it could be devir, the Holy of Holies. Or it could be daber, speak. Or it could be daber, subjugate. You see, there's probably more if I stop and think about it longer, but I think that's enough to make the point. It's our tradition. It's Jewish tradition which brings us all the diacritics that would tell us, okay, this is actually, you can't see it, I'll go to white. This is actually Devil, Holy of Holies, or Davar, word, etc., etc., etc. I'm going to erase the example now because it doesn't feel right to have it in black by the Leningrad Codex, like I'm changing it or something. I'm making my own Masoretic notes. So too in our tradition are, from the same time period, the trope, the cantillation marks that tell us where to pause and when not to pause. If there's a semicolon or a comma, it makes a difference, doesn't it? So our ancestor, such a tzaddik, such a righteous man, such an ish tam, as the Bible calls him, before this incident, a perfect man or a man without blemish. He's trying hard to obey both of his parents and to honor both of them. The mother commanded him in no uncertain terms. Using the word metzavah, I command. Ani metzavah, I command you. And also, tishma bekoli, obey me. Literally, hearken to my voice. There's no wiggle room. But still he respects his father. He's not a usurper. He's a trickster, see? No, sorry, Jordan. Not true. Fact check false. You should have studied more than just the free resources. I love Jordan Peterson, though. I'm not mocking. I'm just that whole Protestant position on these things. Protestant, Catholic, Eastern Orthodox, etc. They're all wrong on this because they don't care about the original language text that often. Anochi, it is I. Esau bechoecha. Esau is your firstborn. Pause again. Asiti kasher dibata. I've done according to how you've commanded or you've spoken. In other words, he's already an aged man here. Yaakov responding. He's like in his 60s, probably. Surprise. He's not a little kid. When you take all the time and count up and how long he's in Haran and then all these sorts of things, he's in his 60s. But people live much longer then, right? So hence in the original picture in the front, I have him looking like a man with still brown hair, which he might have been. Kumna, arise now, arise please. Shiva, take your place. V'achala mitzedi bavo tavrachani nafshecha. Verse 20. Let's mark it so we can follow it easily. Okay. Vayomer Yitzchak el beno mazeh miharta limtso beni vayomer ki hikah Adonai Elohecha lefanai. Vayomer Yitzchak. Then Yitzchak said El Bano unto his son, Ma zeh, what is this? Miharta, you've hastened, you hurried up. Limso, to find Beni, my son. Vayomer, and he said, Ki hikra Adonai Elohecha lefanai. Because Adonai your God happened before me, like Adonai made it happen. He made it occur. Not just happen, but it's Hefil. See, he caused to happen. Before me again. True. Fact check. True. Adonai sent the dream to Rivka, the prophetess, so that she would know it's of utmost importance. Adonai wants Yaakov to be the firstborn. Adonai wants it. This is not, and you see, people love to grab onto the whole idea of Jacob being sneaky. I'm not saying Peterson does. I don't think he's anti-Semitic at all. He's a great friend to Jews. But many Christians love it because Jacob named Israel. It's very clear he's the progenitor of our people. And those who are grafted in also, because you've joined us and he's adopted you. In the Greek, it says he's made you a son. He's made you his son. So don't buy it, folks. Don't buy it. Look how he's resisting. He's doing what his mother told him. And with his speech, he's being very careful. He's trying so hard. He's trying so hard not to lie to his father, to technically tell the truth. Isaac's question about how Jacob found game quickly, and Jacob's answer, crediting God, reflects a use of divine invocation to mask human deceit, presenting a complex spiritual lesson on honesty and intention. This is from Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan. Some of you may recognize him. He was a physicist and a rabbi, a man who did not grow up religious, but found it later in life as he's fending for himself on the streets and such, and was taken in by his religious friends. And he was so brilliant that he quickly mastered Hebrew and everything and was able to rise in the religious world. And eventually he stopped being a physicist and was full-time rabbi, where his heart really was at. Rabbi Aryeh Kaplan is the one who so famously said, "All translation is commentary." He translated many texts and he understood the importance of reading in the original language so that people could not hoodwink you like the wicked Tovia Zinger and his ilk. You don't want them hoodwinking people because people don't know Hebrew, so he can just lie and say it means whatever he wants it to mean. And with such confidence, oh, so tasty, so tasty. And I'm just going to tell you a lie about the word. Going to feed on your soul. May he be silenced and have no influence on anyone until he corrects himself and makes teshuvah for the myriads of lies he said over the years, destroying people's olam haba. You know, Jews are not supposed to lead Christians away from Christianity. That's not allowed, especially Ashkenazim. Of great influence is the Yavitz, Rabbi Jacob Emden, a great Ashkenazi leader, a defender of the faith against Sabbatai Sevianism. And he believed that our Christian brothers and sisters have a place in Olam Haba, in the world to come. And you're not supposed to try to convince them away from the New Testament. You're not supposed to do that. But yet here we have Tovia Singer and his ilk. They love to get Christians to stop being Christian, and they don't even make them Jews. They just want them to turn away. They want to mock the faith that they have. And want to mock the Messiah, sadly so. What a sad and decrepit individual. Be careful. Learn your Hebrew so people like that cannot trick you and lie to you about what the language means or doesn't mean. I remember one of my dear friends used to call into his show, and my friend is very strong in Hebrew and Aramaic and Arabic and English. There might be some languages I'm missing there from my dear friend. I won't say his name in case he doesn't want this just out there. And I remember he called into the show one time, and Tovia recognized him, and he was fearful because this man calling in knows Hebrew and Aramaic. And he's a native Arabic speaker. And he called him, and Tovia puts on his fake mask and he says, "Oh, my friend, ja da 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 da." Hold on, let me screenshot. We'll just say Shmooly for now. Shmooly. I'm so glad you called. Oh, make sure to stay on, because usually the people ask the question, then they have to go, right? Because Tovia doesn't want any challenging, any back and forth, in case the person knows Hebrew. And he says, oh, I'm so glad you're here. Make sure to stay on the line. We'll have a nice back and forth. I've missed you. And then he made a mistake. There was a technical error. I don't know if it's OBS or what software they're using, but the call screener, he accidentally showed his screen on the live YouTube video. And I have a screenshot from this before they edited it out later. And Tovia typed to the call screener while he's doing this fake duplicitous, I'm so glad you're here. Don't leave. Stay on the line. We'll talk for a while. He types, get rid of him ASAP. You see the spirit you're dealing with? Don't trust your neshama to this person. Don't do it. And of course, they did get rid of my friend. Can't have someone on there who's fluent. You can't have someone on there who knows Semitic languages, because they'll show that you're full of it. Genesis chapter 27, verse 21. Vayomer Yitzchak el Yaakov Geshanav al Moshecha beni Hataze beni Esau imloho. Okay, Vayomer Yitzchak. Then Yitzchak said, El Yaakov, and to Yaakov, Geshana, approach now. Va'amushcha, that I might touch, might feel you. Beni, my son. Ha'ata, here we have the hey interrogative. It's a question mark. Are you this? Beni, my son. Esau, imlo, or not. Very interesting, right? So probably the way that Yaakov was answering him before had him thinking, ooh, he's pausing and stuff and talking kind of weirdly, like he doesn't want to just answer directly and smoothly. Pausing. It is I. Pause. Esau's your firstborn. Pause. Why is he talking like that? So he's like, come forward so I can touch you. I want to see. Remember, he doesn't see very well at this point. Okay. Verse 22. I'm marking it in green if you're watching the screen. Vayigash Yaakov El Yitzchak Avivai Mushehu. Let's stop with the Nachta. Vayigash, it was Vayin Gash in ancient times, right? What happened, even at the command up above, I'll show you up above. So look up a few verses. See, there was a noon there in ancient times at the beginning. And that noon assimilated and became the Dagesh. Actually, not in that case. Whoops, wait. In that case, the Dagesh is there because it's a God Kifat letter. But in this case, we do get the noon's assimilation. Vayin Gash became Vayig Gash. It's the noon inside. Vayingash, Vayigash, Yaakov. So Yaakov approached El Yitzchak, unto Yitzchak. Aviv, his father. Oh, hold on. Let me make sure I didn't... Oh yeah, we skipped a couple lines by accident because it had the same Aviv, there we go. And I was accidentally jumping 2 lines. It didn't make sense in the context when I was translating. That's why I was like, wait a second. Vaymushehu, and he felt him. Okay, let's continue on. Vayomer hakol kol Yaakov v'hayadayim yedei Esau. Okay, and let's do another color here as an anchor point. And he said the voice. And here it is. He said the voice Actually, I'll circle the word in blue because it's kind of hard to see on the Leningrad Codex, the thin blue color. Okay. And he said, Hakol, the voice is, construct chain, da, kol, Yaakov, the voice of Jacob. V'hayadayim, but the arms are, da, yedei Esau, the arms of Esau. Verse 23, we don't need a mark. It's obvious with our box. Velo, hikiro, ki hayuhu yadayim, ki de Esau achiv se'erot, vayvarechehu. Okay, verse 23. Velo hikiro, and he did not recognize him. Ki hayu, for were Yadiv, his arms, ki, like the Yadei Esau, the arms of Esau, Achiv, his brother, Se'erot, hairy, Vayevarechehu, then he blessed who? Him. Rabbi Friedman, may he rest in peace and his name be for a blessing and a wonderful memory. The final deception's success reveals how providential imperfection allows human actions to direct fate within the bounds of a larger divine scheme. Rabbi Friedman was truly a Gadol Ador. He had a photographic memory. He remembered where everything was in the Talmud and Midrashim, etc. And so he had very creative and excellent answers to unique problems. May Hashem send us many more geniuses like Friedman. Verse 24. Vayomer ata ze beni Esau, Vayomer ani. So here it is. The full deception finally has to happen. No more way to dodge. Vayomer, and he said, I'm going to mark it with fuchsia so you can follow easily. Ata ze, are you this one? Beni, my son, Esau? Vayomer, and he said, Ani, it is I. There's no way out anymore. What can he say? He has to obey his mother, and he has to, the prophetess whom God said he must have the birthright. And his father is just kind of following his tummy right now for some reason. Not to criticize our ancestor. It's just kind of a strange thing. Or to put it more charitably, keeping to the tradition of the one who technically was born first, being the firstborn. And probably he was unaware of Esau having sold his birthright because Yitzchak did not want to speak Lashon Hara against his brother. His mother might not have even known. Seems she's operating only off the dream from Hashem. And knowing the boys, which one is the one who studies all the time, i.e. one who is a sitter intense, which is a euphemism for studies a lot, versus the one who's a hunter, out causing pain to innocent animals. And here we are. This is the last bit of the Torah portion today. You made it. Can you believe it? Coming up right on the 2-hour mark. Right about 2 hours. I know we went a bit longer, and it does limit our ability to go into other books, but I think it's worth it. A lot of people have been saying they really are benefiting from this. Oh, let me get rid of the previous marks. There we go. All right. Genesis chapter 27, verse 25. Vayomer hagisha li v'chela mitzed beni. Sorry. Mitzed beni lema'an tevachecha nafshi. I was thinking about the meaning and I got off on the trope a little bit. All right, so let's translate. Vayomer, then he said, Hagisha li, approach me. Ve'ochela, that indeed I might eat mitseid beni, from the game of my son. Lema'an, so that tevarecha nafshi, my soul, she will bless you. Sorry about that noise. My chair was scraping on something. Vayagesh lo vayochal vayaveh lo yain vayeshtet. It's kind of hard to cant that. Vayesht. There we go. 25 was causing problems for me. Okay, picking up at the etnachta. Let me mark it in the text. Here it is. So we're going to start just after there, right over here. Okay, so there's the etnachta, and we'll start here. Vayagesh lo. So he approached him. Vayochal, and he ate. Vayave, and he brought lo to him. Yayin, wine. Vayesht, and he drank. The verb is shata, to drink. It's a lamed hey verb, and that final hey has gone away. The hey that would have been at the end of the word, it's gone. Shtu Coca-Cola. All right, verse 26. Vayomer elav Yitzchak aviv Geshana Oshkoli Beni. Okay, verse 26. Vayomer elav Yitzchak. Then Yitzchak said unto him, Yitzchak Aviv, his father, said unto him, Geshana, approach now, Oshkoli Beni. Oops, I deleted my stuff. Sorry, I'm still getting used to these drawings. If I press the wrong button, they go away. Okay. So, Vayomer Hagishali. So he said, bring it to me, like cause to approach. It's a he-fil cause to approach to me. And I will eat from the game of my son, so that my soul may bless you. So he brought to him, and he ate. Then he brought to him wine, and he drank. Verse 26. Vayomer elav Yitzchak. Then Yitzchak, Aviv, his father, said to him, Geshana, approach now. Where are we on this? Let's see. Geshana, approach now. Let me mark that so it's easier to follow along. Geshana, approach now. Usheka li beni, and kiss me, my son. This is another pei noon verb. The noon has dropped off, like it often does. Nashak is to kiss. Would have been there before the nashak. Usheka, and kiss li me beni, my son. Very sweet. Verse 27. Vayigash, vayishak lo, vayarach et reach begadav, vayvarachehu. Vayigash, that's vayingash. There's a dagesh in there, showing where there, again, another pei noon verb. The noon has gone inside of the verb, and far outside that first letter. Nagash became Vayingash, became Vayiggash. So he approached, and then we have Vayin Shak. By the way, if you're new to the Leningrad Codex, note that the marker for Sheen is on the second arm from the Sheen instead of the first. We learned that not too long ago. The noon is on the inside. That's why there's a dot. Vayin Shak became Vayishak. And he kissed lo, him. Vayarach, and he smelled et reach, Actually, construct chain. Da, reach bagadaiv. The smell of his clothes. By the way, reach, you might remember from Leviticus. Reach nichoach. Also in Exodus, a pleasant aroma, right? A sweet aroma, which used to be the name of our praise and worship band over a decade ago. We call ourselves Reach Nechoach. We wrote songs in biblical Hebrew. Sometimes people would ask me to translate modern worship songs into Hebrew, and I always felt biblical Hebrew was the right way, so we did biblical Hebrew. Just seems better than modern Hebrew for that kind of thing. Okay. This is very hard to read. Look at that. Well, you can tell in context. It's going to be Vayavarachehu. But let's look at it in the BHQ. Vayavarachehu. Vayavarachehu. And he blessed him. From the Mishnah, Avot, chapter 4, 20, we learn the episode finalizes the theme that the blessing of a father makes the house prosperous, underscoring the significance of paternal blessing in the continuity of covenantal promises. That's Mishnah Avot 4:20. And then continuing with our canting. Vayomer Rei Reach Beni Kereach Sadeh Asher Be'acho Adonai. Okay. Looks like a hair or something on the codex. I didn't know if I drew that by accident. Vayomer, then he said, let me make a mark so it's easy to follow. Vayomer, then he said, Re'eh, look, da reach beni, the smell of my son, ke, like, da reach sadeh, a smell of a field, asher, which, or how, berecho, he blessed Adonai, or Adonai blessed him. Okay, how'd you do? All right, let's go ahead and get to our lekach, and then we'll be done. Oh, I shouldn't have deleted those yet. I forgot I wanted to read through the Leningrad Codex one more time. Vayomer hagisha li ve'ochela mitzeid beni lema'an tevarechecha nafshi vayagesh lo vayochal vayavei lo yayin vayesht. 26. Vayomer elav Yitzchak aviv geshana ushekali beni. 27. Vayigash vayishak lo vayarach et reach begadaiv vayvarachehu vayomer rei reach beni kereach sadeh asher berecho Adonai. That's Yod-Heh, Waw-Heh. What's our lekach today? Few things. Jacob was not a deceiver. Not. Even if he had done this of his own mind. I remember arguing with a very dense person one time. They just wouldn't see reason on some forum that even if this was absolute deception on Jacob's part, to then label him as a deceiver, that implies that someone chronically has done this throughout their life. Like, for example, if someone stole something one time, maybe when they're young or something, took something from a hardware store or something like this, would you then later say of them, oh, he's a thief? Come now. The person sinned, and then they were corrected by a parent or whatever, and then that's it. You don't say they're a thief. How many children grab something, walk out? So even if it was the case that he planned on doing all this deception, to call him a deceiver or usurper, can't you just hear the nachash whispering the anti-Semitism in the person's ear? Can't you just hear it? Jacob, called Israel, is a deceiver. By the master deceiver himself. He wasn't a deceiver, nor a usurper. This is Edomite fake news, which anti-Semitism has eagerly echoed. In the Edomite dialect, Yaakov came to mean this, and that's how it worked its way into some lexicons to have this meaning. But we shouldn't be studying Edomite Hebrew. We should be studying biblical Hebrew. Yaakov does not mean deceiver. Yaakov. The root is Ayin Kuf Beit, which means heel. Heel, because he grabbed his brother's heel as he was being born before him, the fraternal twins. Okay? Not deceive. Okay? Later on, you get some development from this. Again, Edomite feeding back into the language. All right. Okay. Rivka, Rebecca, the prophetess, our mother, commanded Jacob in no uncertain terms that he must obey her in deceiving his father. He must do it. And you'll recall our ancient tradition, over 2,000 years old, of the trope, demonstrates that he, even in the words he chose, he inserted pauses to try to not openly lie. Wow, what a tzaddik. What an amazing person Jacob was, even at this point in his life, even before wrestling with the Malach. It was not a salvation experience when he wrestled with the Malach. He already was the man who could wrestle with an angel. All that study paying off. Eastern Orthodoxy, the so-called oldest church that is predating Roman Catholicism, who broke away from them, is illegitimate. It's illegitimate. They cut off the first council, the Council of Jerusalem, and went their own way. They went their own way with open rejection of the Torah, following in the spirit of Islam of abrogation, abrogating previous scriptures. When God says something is le'olam va'ed, forever and ever, he ain't kidding. And if you believe in the councils, you need to start with the first one. And you don't get to just undermine that later. And some may say, oh, well, that's just for Jews and blah, blah, blah. Even if you believe that, that is not the church's position today. They claim they've got this all figured out. And if a Jew comes to them and says, hey, I keep kosher, I keep Sabbath, etc., I want to accept the Messiah, what do I do? Well, they will teach him to break all those commands. That it doesn't matter anymore. Because their tradition, which is so long, started off as illegitimate. The foundation was rotten. And when the foundation is rotten, when the foundation is sand, it doesn't matter how long people have kept the tradition of building on sand. It's still sand. Again, love you guys. I don't mean to hurt you. But there's a lot of Eastern Orthodox arrogance raising up in YouTube these days, thinking that they're the oldest, and because of this, blah, 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 there's some kind of legitimacy. Just look for the fruit, friends. Look for the fruit. Finally, parents should keep our Shabbat traditions, blessing their children weekly at a minimum. This is so important because at least when you make it a tradition, something you don't skip on Friday night, even if you're too tired and you don't want to sing all the psalms and everything to at least bless the children, then it won't slip and the years won't go by and you won't be like, oh, I didn't do that enough. It's a mechanism that maintains chokhmah, wisdom, rather than the ad hoc wisdom that we find in many denominations and sects. At least the Orthodox priests marry. Kudos to them for that, for not inventing that weirdness. Okay, we won't do these prayers this time since there's a ceasefire. But we will do the Machi Tzedek blessing. Ein lanu kohen achrei seder Aharon. Ein lanu Lewi po achshav. על כן, אעשה את הברכה הזאת אחרי סדר מלכי צדק, כי יש לנו כהן בשמיים ממעל, ישוע שמו. יברכך אדוני וישמרך. יאר אדוני פניו אליך ויחונקה. יישא אדוני פניו אליך וישם לך שלום. Shavua Tov. Have a wonderful week ahead. Love you all. Sorry we went a bit long today, but good stuff in the Torah. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. And join my Patreon if you haven't done it yet over at www.patreon.com/Hebrew Literacy. You can join for free and see if you like it. And then hopefully you'll decide to support what we do here. We sure like to eat. That's a good thing. And the worker is worthy of his meat. So really appreciate you guys. At least pray for us. And I will see you on Monday over on Patreon as we continue our auditory learning in the book of Judges. Shalom, shalom.